Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for watching. This week is going to be a game changer because it is a game changer for me every time I go to play the guitar, and that is the low pass filter. It is a concept that I'm always thinking about every time I play, how to filter out the high end to the point where it's usable and it makes my tone the best that it could possibly be. This is probably my secret weapon in getting great guitar tone. Aside from all the basics that we've talked about, getting great amp tone, getting a nice big full sound, miking an amp correctly, setting up your drives in an order that makes sense, and gain stages and all that we've talked about already, and then dialing in your reverbs and all that. There is this unknown, untalked about factor that is the high pass filter. And that is the, if your guitar is like mine, which it probably is, it has a tone knob on it. So this tone knob is your, sorry, I said high pass, I meant low pass. This tone knob is your low pass filter. So it's ducking out all the highs, and it helps you dial in your guitar to a point where it is the best that it can possibly be. So I want to talk all about high end today. I'm going to do some stuff with the diagram. I'm going to show you what it's doing and how to manage it and how to think about it. And it literally is something that it defines who I am as a player. Every time I step up to a live set, this is the only thing I think about. Honestly, it's after I get all my settings in order and I know my pedals and I know what they're going to do. The only thing I'm thinking about throughout the entire set is how is my high end and how is it affecting the dynamic of the band. So all throughout the set or throughout the recording, whether I'm recording or playing through it with a live set, let's just refer to this as a live set for now. I'm managing my high end to dynamically fit in with the band. Let's jump over to the whiteboard for a second, and I'll show you what I mean. So I've shown you EQ boxes before, like inside of Ableton. So this is like what a typical EQ would look like on the electric guitar, starting at around 100, and you got all your notches showing you where you are. Let's just say this is the frequency. And I've shown you how to high pass, so a low cut, cut all this stuff to clear it up. So with high end, this stuff over here, depending on how you set up your amp, with your tone knob fully open, if I play right now, so that's my tone knob all the way on. This stuff is all spiking more than this stuff over here. So my overall line for EQ would kind of look like this, with a kind of a high boost at the end, right? And that's without me doing anything on the board or on the EQ. That's just my natural curve of my EQ. Well, when I play like that, and I start adding on pedals, what that does is when the sound guy turns me up, the first thing that's hitting people's ears is my high end. So let's say, this is the earlobe, and this is the point where people hear it above the band. Well, the first thing that's going to hit the ears is the high end before all the mids, before the lows, before all the good stuff. So learning to tame that down and sort of monitor that and think of it in perspective of what's getting to the ear first. Is it the mids, the lows, the highs, or is it all getting there evenly, is incredibly important in getting good guitar tone. With Strats, with Tellys, with single coil guitars, I play Strat a lot on these videos because it's, probably the most common electric guitar out there. It's the most popular guitar ever made, I think. So I play it because I assume that most of you play single coil guitars. They're going to be brighter by nature, and I've said that before. So with the Strat, I back off the tone knob at least to 8 as a starting point. So and that's because I think that the high end sounds better at the amp or on the pedals than it does on the guitar. So you can get your tone different ways, right? You can set your tone knob to 4, and then you could boost up the high end on the amp, and you could get lots of, you know, a nice big full signal that way. Or you can set your tone knob to 8, and you can turn the highs down on the amp, and you get your nice big full sound that way. You know, anywhere in between that is totally fine, but finding out where the high end sounds the best is going to be number one with your guitar. So on my Gretches, the high end sounds, playing through my Gretches, it typically sounds best with the tone knobs almost all the way up. And then I just set my amps accordingly to that. But with the Tellies, with the Strats, with the single coils, it gets that high end kind of crunch that probably you've dealt with. You can hear it in other people's playing that's not pleasing, that high end like fizz. That comes a lot of times from having your tone knob all the way up on the single coil guitars. So darkening up on the guitar and then brightening up on the amp is just like a little side note that you could try in today's lesson. But anyway, so flattening out your EQ, just mentally, just try, when you close your eyes, try and think, and I've talked about this before, is everything even? Is my highs, my mids, and my lows even? And adjusting this tone knob to do that is going to be step number one. So now, a low-pass filter, so I've talked to you about a high-pass filter, which is cutting out all the lows, right? A low-pass filter is the opposite, so it's cutting out all the highs. And that's what the tone knob does. So whenever I turn that tone knob, this is my frequency that my guitar is producing. Whenever I turn that tone knob, it's moving this cut line this way and cutting out all the high end. So all the lows and the mids, those are all staying the same. And my low pass filter, my high cut, is moving this way, cutting out all the highs. And I use that as a dynamic tool in my playing. So throughout the set, I hardly ever touch my volume pedal. No matter what it is, no matter what point it is during the set, unless I'm doing guitar swells, I never back off on my volume. I'll gain down to like just compression or something, but you've heard my tone. It's not much louder from just the compression all the way up to my loudest drive, and I've talked about that in my gain stages week. You know, there's softest to loudest. It's almost the same level of volume, but what I do is as I feather this tone knob down to create dynamic shifts. I mean, constantly throughout the set, I'm playing and doing that all the time. Play, touch, play, touch. Now, often I do it with my middle finger or my ring finger, and so that means I'm just always listening for that high end. Is it too much high end? Okay, I'm gonna turn it down. Is it not clear enough? Okay, I'm gonna turn it up. A song that comes to mind that I can reference when I when I really am having to tame the high end. And a technique that I do a lot in a live set would just be like pinging out high, long whole notes. So a song that I played on a record called Split the Sky, an artist named Chris Kulala, I'm doing these, this is a song called Because of Your Love. I'm doing these high drawn out whole notes. And it's something that's never the same settings wise, because I'm always having to listen to that high end with all this reverb on. Is it piercing, is it hurting, or is it smooth? You know, you can border on the side of muddy, so it's a hairline of a fracture difference to where the perfect tone is going to be. You know, right now I'm somewhere between 7 and 8. And then back up on top, the high end is starting to poke out again, so I might nudge it down. And then when I go lower, the high end's going to be tamer, so I might nudge it back up. So it's always changing throughout the set. And then another thing to be aware of is that as you gain up, it's going to often start boosting the high end while you're gaining up. So as I'm gaining up, I sort of tame the high end down either in my pedal settings or in my own, you know, just tone knob feathering, because as I'm boosting up this signal, remember this diagram I showed you, you know, if this is my natural EQ path, as I'm boosting that up, it's going to hit the listener's ear. That's an earlobe. The high end's going to hit there first. So as I boost up, naturally what a drive pedal wants to do is start lifting that high end up. So I'm going to fight that, basically. I'm always fighting high end throughout the entire set. As I gain up, I might tone knob down. If I have throw on a ton of drive to really solo, I just nudge that tone knob down again. Now if I gain up to, you know, my fullest drive sound, so my solo sound, in this case it'd be the Rat, it's gonna really start boosting that high end up. Here's what it would sound like without me changing anything. So just all my normal regular clean settings with the pedal on. It's got that real bitey high end, so I got to start taming that down and find the perfect balance. I can even tame it down on the pedal. Again, the main point of this lesson is to use your ear, tune your ear to the high end. Tune it, don't necessarily pay attention to how much low end or how much mids you're producing, because all that's kind of done at the amp. That's all done for you when you first set up your gear and when you're dialing in all your sounds. But when you're playing, when you're in your live set, your ear goes to the tone knob, your ear goes to the high end, and you're managing it throughout the set. Use it as a dynamic tool. You know, I said earlier that I never touch my volume pedal. You can do so much with the guitar muted, so with the low pass filter, you know, really on, so all the high end cut. So So much dynamic playing can be done if you just darken up. It almost sounds like I'm turning my volume pedal on, right? But I'm not, I'm just touching that tone knob. And I know you've done this before, you've done it in your practice room, you know what a tone knob does, but think of it in your live set more like a volume pedal. Think of your tone knob more of as an expressive tool. All right guys, that's it for the Guitar Institute this week. Take that to your next set. Ask me any questions you like on Facebook and I'll be happy to answer them, clarify anything, and see you here next week. Thanks.